Okay, what you do is you take them and you say negative 1 over 4 x plus 7 is equal to negative 1 plus 3 over 4. And then you solve for that.
You could solve. You could do some solving. That's what Ansel's saying. What else could I do if I want to know where two lines intersect? Easier than solving, I think.
Graph it.
Graph it. You could graph it. You could set it up and do that. Do your way if you want. I think it's easier. I don't know. But have out homework 1.5 and do that. One way. One way. Did anyone? You said graph it, but you didn't.
I graphed it. Well, first.
Hey, what'd you get for your answer?
My answer?
Yeah.
I got 8 equals x.
You got. Okay. If you got 8 equals x, did you tell me where they intersect?
No.
I did.
Okay, what?
I didn't.
Hold on. You don't.
I put it into the calculator and plotted it, and just went to the table.
What's your answer? How about that?
X is 8, and Y is 5.
Okay. Kane, right, with the win here, said 8, x is 8, y is 5. When I ask where they intersect, I'm talking about a point. I'm talking about an actual point, which is an ordered pair, which is an x and a y, like it's on the board right there for you to always see, forever and always. Yes.
If you check it, because I gave you a 5, the check gave me a 5.
I think yes. You solved it and then you checked it and you got 5?
I solved it and I got x equals 8, and then when I checked it, and when I plugged it in, I got 5.
Yeah, that'll give you a y, because when you plug in the 8, you'll get the 5. Okay, so again, 2 ways to see this. I'm going to actually 3 ways to see this. First way, the least technologically sound way.
The graph.
But here we go. Here's a graph. X, Y, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 6, 4, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. Graphing. First way to do it. If I were to graph this line, hey, I know it starts at 7. It has a slope of negative 1 over 4. Negative 1 over 4. And I could keep repeating that process if I really wanted to. And then I could graph that line. Boom. There's my top line. Now for my bottom line. Starts at negative 1. Has a slope of up 3 over 4. Up 3 over 4. And then I can see that they're going to cross right there. So when I graph this line, I can see right where they cross, which would be the answer. They're crossing at 8, 5. Second way I could do it, like Abraham and Ansel were saying, is the second way I could do it is by solving. Let's 1 graph. And if I'm solving it, I would put 1/4 x plus 7 is equal to negative 1 plus 3/4 x. And I would proceed to solve the equation.
Can I do first?
Sure, what's first step?
Okay, first step is add 1 to both sides.
Add 1 to both sides.
From the negative line.
Getting crazy. Okay, we're going to go with Ansel's way. Add 1.
Bye, Anthony. Good night.
Okay. Is that okay, first step?
Yeah.
Cool, what next?
Oh, no, I'm doing more. Okay.
Xander's taking it. Nope, Xander's taking it. Xander's taking it.
What?
Go ahead.
And you could, I would add 1/4 x to the 3/4 x.
Cool.
That's what I was
That
going
equals
to say.
what?
Better than he did.
This is nice, right? Because a fourth, if you have 3/4 plus 1/4,
Equals $1.
you have $1 or 1. So I'd have 8 is equal to 1x. Boom, there's my answer. Except kind of, right?
It's 1/2 of your answer.
Because we know we just talked about we need both. We need both. But I don't want to go into that yet. Or don't care. I mean, I do, because I don't want you to do it right now, so I do care. Third way. Third way. What Cain did. Notice we'll get the same thing. He looked at the table here and looked at the table to where they're the same. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Right? Where they are the same. And we should notice that whether I graph it, whether I solve it, whether I look at the table, arcane, we should always get the same answer. I don't care which way you do it, actually at all. Because you get the same thing either way. So long as you're doing it a way that makes sense to you. The only option that you may not take is the I don't do it at all option. Not an option. Okay? Also, what do you need to say? What do you need to say?
Yeah, so when you're solving for the, well, who's 5 here? When you're solving for y, using the solving thing, where do you plug your x into? You plug it into the individual lines equations that you were given, or do you plug it into the one where they both equal?
Okay, if I wanted to check to see that this was the right answer, I would need to plug it into my original equation. The thing is, these are two equations, and I can't, there's too many variables here. So the beauty of this equation is that there's not x and y, there's just x. So if I wanted to see if 8 was correct, I would plug 8 into my original equation. Check. So I would plug this guy in, and I'd have -1/4 times 8 plus 7, -1 plus 3/4 times 8. So also note that this plugging 8 in is really just plugging it into y equals right here. It's really just solving for the other y, which is why, Jolie, you're right that you get whatever you get. So -2 plus 7, I'm checking, is that -1 plus 6? What's -2 plus 7? 5. We get 5 equals 5. That's true. And like Jolie noticed, I want you guys to look at one last thing. Like Jolie noticed, so here when I graph it or would look at the table like Cain did, I got the answer of 8 and 5. X is 8, y is 5. When Ansel solved it, he got the answer of x equals 8, but notice what happens when he checks it. Right? We talked about, okay, the answer where they intersect is two numbers, an ordered pair, 8 and 5. Ansel only got the 8, except for when he checks it, what does it get? The 5. Because really, when I check it, I'm plugging x back into my original equation. If I plug in an x right here, where my finger is, that tells me what y equals. When x is 8, it's telling you that y is 5, and it's 5 in both equations. Okay. Awesome. So, real quickly, I have this for you. Have a seat, please. Yahi, have a seat, man. You're not doing that right now. Sorry you were late. Have a seat. You can take the pencil with you, and there's a sharpener in the back. You can just... You really want to get into it, don't you? Oh, I'm sorry you were here on time, too. Really here and prepared. Give me that excuse. Probably didn't put your quiz on there, so we'll just put this.
Oh.
Hallie was in here.
Okay, on your progress sheet, that should be, again, behind the index, so you left a blank page behind your index, yes?
I did.
This is behind your index at the very front. This is the A2 section. We put this in the first day of school. Okay, so again, back at the front of my notebook, A2 is the very front page, the very first thing we ever wrote. Put in your A2 test score. Put in your test score, whatever you got, right? And there's a little guide down here on the bottom. You must receive at least a 2 in order to pass the learning target. So if you did not, you have to retake that test. Okay? Here's how retakes work. you have to come in before school to see me. And we have to have a conversation and go over some practice problems. Depending on the problem, depending on what you missed, I will give you different set of problems. So you might have a lot of problems because I feel like you really don't understand it, or you might just have a few because it was a simple thing that made you miss it. Okay? Either way, you have to come in and work with me individually, one-on-one, on your own time. Once you do that, I will let you retake the test. Okay? And if you retake and pass it, then it changes your score. All is better, you're up to passing, you're passing the class. If you don't pass A2, you will not pass this semester. You will not get your Algebra 1 credit. The Algebra 1 credit at the end of January for the semester is based on the first 4 learning targets. A1, A2, A3, A4. You have to cover we are going to cover all 4 of those this semester, and you must pass each of them. Okay? Yeah, Yahoo. If you pass this, you want a better grade. Then in order to retake the test, you have to do the next section correctly. So if you got a 2 or a 3, but you want a better score, let's say you wanted a 2, and you wanted to retake it, you have to show me you at least can do all the B level and the A level. Show me you can do it first, then I'll let you retake it. Okay, because I'm not going to let you retake a test without chatting with me. The other thing I'm going to point out is that when I give you problems to work on, you'll retake the test a separate day. You may not retake it the same day. Okay? Huh? No, because I don't want you to just like remember it for 30 minutes and then do it for 30 minutes. I want to see that there's some sink in over the course of the day. Oh,
Boy.
Anything else? Okay, so mostly you did pretty well. A few things that you didn't do very well on, like the B level question, we're going to be chatting about and working on today. The next thing I'm going to give you is your quiz from last week, from Thursday. Okay, so now, right, you should have your A1 tab you do. Go to your A1 tab. We're going to repeat that process. Okay. Chris. What I want you to do right now, is work on correcting or fixing your quiz. Okay, the one problem that I really want to talk about is the last one. Okay, on the A level question, you needed to use something about the word, you needed to say something about that you're distributing there. Okay, so I want to see something about distributing, why you have to multiply the negative. A lot of you guys said like you have to multiply this should be -5, but why? Okay, the question again is about why, and I'm not just going to give you an A if you have poorly written or worded an explanation, right? If your explanation does not make sense, you're not getting an A. Okay, so something about he didn't distribute the negative sign correctly because there's a negative, or some of you said because there's a -1 in front. Everything in parentheses has to be multiplied by the negative because of the distributive property. You didn't talk about distributive property. I didn't give it to you. Okay. So if you have questions about that, I will gladly add to it. What? Do you have a question? Okay. Don't raise your hand. So, talking about that one. It wasn't enough just to show how you did it. Some of you just re-solved it your own. Great, I'm glad that you can solve it. But again, the A-level question is not that can you solve this. The A-level question was can you identify what is wrong with this and explain. Okay. showing, explaining, talking about the distributive property. Okay. Are there any questions about that one? Okay. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to make corrections to either your test or your quiz. If you don't feel, all of you need to do corrections. Okay. No one got a 4 on both of them. I don't think. So go ahead, and if that means you're working on the next level questions so that on our next quiz you can get the A, you guys have 5 minutes to work on these though. So I should see in a different color, work on your quizzes and or tests. Yes.